Nami kwenye taarifa zetu za leo mashinani, naitwa Cecilia wa Kesho Mathuva. Tunaanza katika kaunti ya Kirinyaga ambapo joto la kisiasa limepanda, huku wakilishi wadi kwenye bunge hilo wakijiandaa kuunga mkono hoja ya kumng'atua mamlakani Gavana Anne Waiguru. Wakilishi hao kadhaa waliripotiwa kulala kwenye makao ya bunge ya kaunti hiyo wakijipanga ama wakipanga njama ya kuhakikisha hoja hiyo iliyowasilishwa na mwakilishi wadi Kinyua Wangoi inapitishwa. Hoja hiyo ilikuwa imesitishwa kutokana na janga la corona na sasa inasubiriwa kuona iwapo itapitishwa. Kwa mengi zaidi, hebu tufuatilie matukio kwenye bunge la kaunti hiyo ya Kirinyaga.
Speaker, a case of abuse of office and imprudent expenditure of public resources. Next, Mr. Speaker, is tender number CGK MOW 038, the tender for proposed waterworks for Moya Makema project, March 2018. Mr. Speaker, it's labeled A05. This is the Moya Makema. This tender, Mr. Speaker, was awarded to Ever Trading Agencies Limited, a company associated with the family of Mogondadi, the Chief Officer, Department of Finance, who is a brother to Edwin Gesovi Daddy, who holds 300 shares in the said company in total disregard of conflict of interest and in furtherance of corrupt and joint criminal enterprise overseen by the governor. The tender committee chaired by Governor Pats and staff, one Pauline Kamau, recommended the award of tender to be given to Ever Trading Agencies Limited. So, Speaker, again, the document is duly tabled. Next, Mr. Speaker, is tender number CGK MOW 039 2017-2018, tender for proposed waterworks for the Agishero Irrigation Water Project, March 2018. Once again, Chair, Mr. Speaker, reserved for Agipo. This tender was awarded to Ever Trading Agencies Limited, a company associated with the Chief Officer. Mr. Speaker, you can know the conspiracy. The tender is once again, evaluation is chaired by the Governor Pats and staff. Number 2, awarded again to a company associated with the Chief Officer Finance, Mr. Speaker. Worth noting, Mr. Speaker, that the tender committee was chaired by Pauline Kamau. The tender was given to Ever Trading Agencies Limited at the Kenya shillings 9,942,000, whereas Value House Limited posted the lowest responsive bid of Kenya shillings 9,633,550 shillings. Mr. Speaker, again, I want to table this. Mr. Speaker, next is tender number CGK MOE OT/036/2017-2018, tender for the proposed waterworks for South Gariama Water Project, March 2018. Mr. Speaker, worth noting was reserved for Agipo category. This tender was awarded to Ever Trading Agencies. Mr. Speaker, again, another tender within the same period, awarded to the same company associated with the Chief Officer Finance. Mr. Speaker, this is clear indication that there was conflict of interest and the committee was skewed in a manner to make sure that it favors the Ever Trading, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the tender was given to Ever Trading Agencies Limited at Kenya shillings 11,943,000, whereas Tojim Investment Limited, Mr. Speaker, posted the lowest responsive bid of Kenya shillings 11,655,880 shillings. Next, Mr. Speaker, is tender number CGK, tender for supply and delivery of assorted PVC pipes for Kenera Water Project, labeled A08 from our document that are with members. This tender, Mr. Speaker, was not reserved for Agipo. Therefore, the company was given the tender ought to have been in business for at least 3 years before it could be considered for tender service under the tender category. Mr. Speaker, Hamfer Limited was incorporated on the 28th day of December 2017 and was awarded the tender on 26th March 2018. 3 months after incorporation, Mr. Speaker. Whereas the company did not possess the National Construction Authority certification for waterworks category, at the same time did not provide a performance board, neither did it produce a financial audited account for previous 3 years, endorsed, signed, and stamped by a registered external auditors, the requirements of Public Procurement Act. The tender document presented did not meet the requirement for consideration and award of tender. However, the Tender Evaluation Committee under the auspices of Governor Parts and Staff recommended that the award be given to Hamfair Limited. Mr. Speaker, the documents are available once again. Next is tender number CGK MSPH/OS, proposed indefinite framework agreement for supply of non-pharmaceuticals. Mr. Speaker, Tulays General Limited was paid an amount of Kenya shillings 8 million without any supply being made, thus exposing the county to loss of public funds, contrary to provisions of the Constitution and the Procurement Act. Mr. Speaker, once this process is executed to the highest level possible, Mr. Speaker, we in fact would want to confirm their officers who would want to give verbal, oral evidence, Mr. Speaker, that they were required to enter some of the supplies into the records, and the supplies were not done, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this is the document for the award, Mr. Speaker. The document for the supplies that were made, Mr. Speaker, will be availed by the responsible officer. And, Mr. Speaker, it's also worth noting that some of these documents we wrote to the responsible officers within the county government, Mr. Speaker. The letters that we wrote, they are available, Mr. Speaker, but they never responded. Why? Their information, there were instructions that they are not supposed to give us some of those instructions. Mr. Speaker, the document is tabled. Next is tender number CGK, tender for design, development, installation, commissioning of hospital management information system. Mr. Speaker, the contract document is available for perusal. Is labeled A010. Mr. Speaker, this tender was awarded to Velocity Partners Limited, a company that did not exist as at the time tender was advertised for tendering, and thus a fictitious company. Suffice to note that the tender for design, development, installation, and commissioning of integrated hospital management information system had been completed by the previous county government. Nevertheless, the tender was re-advertised and awarded to Velocity Partners Limited at a cost of 50 million, and the same was paid despite there being no work done. The contract signed between the county government of Kirinyaga and Velocity Partners Limited is in the month of May 2018 was for Kenya shillings 27,203,450 shillings. And the total amount paid out by the county government of Kirinyaga amounts to 50 million. Mr. Speaker, this is misuse of public resources, Mr. Speaker, an indication that the said contract was intended to siphon public funds through a corrupt and a fraudulent scheme overseen by Governor of Kirinyaga County. The said Velocity Partners Limited was paid as follows. Mr. Speaker, in this contract document, we have attached the IFMIS extract showing the invoices, the amount that were paid at various intervals, Mr. Speaker. And worth noting is that the invoice, the day the invoice was submitted to the account department, Mr. Speaker, the payment was done the very, very same day. Mr. Speaker, begging the question, were they aware that the funds were available? Was it a conspiracy? Were there communications? Were there instructions that monies not meant for this project be swindled for payment? Mr. Speaker, the invoices are dated on 9th August 2018, amounting to 30 million. Suffice to note, Mr. Speaker, the contract document was worth 27 million. Another invoice dated 22nd January 2019, just a few days later, 8 million was paid to the same Velocity Partners. 24th of 2019, Mr. Speaker, 22nd of January 2019, you do an invoice. 2 days later, 24th January 2019, another invoice of 5 million. Mr. Speaker, the total amount paid to Velocity Partners Limited amount to 50 million that was deposited in their account at Sidian Bank, account number 10360200222262, Mr. Speaker. The manner in which the amount were invoiced and paid out to Velocity Partners Limited is evidence of criminal enterprise headed by the governor intended to defraud the county through a skewed tendering process. Mr. Speaker, this is the document, the contract document, and the payment schedule, that's the IFMIS extract. Mr. Speaker, next is the tender for the procurement of governor's vehicle at the cost of Kenya shillings 15 million, was irregularly awarded despite the same having been procured during the previous county government regime of His Excellency Joseph Davi. Moreover, this purchase was made using funds meant for contractors' retention account, which actions amount to misappropriation of funds and imprudent use of public resources, and in furtherance of the corrupt practices, the Assembly attempt to oversight this matter through inquiry has yielded no results, as letters to executive have gone unanswered. Next, Mr. Speaker, abuse of office and gross misconduct. Mr. Speaker, the governor has violated Section 46 of Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Act 2015 by usurping the powers of accounting officer in establishing an irregular tender evaluation committee composed of governors, parts, and staff who directly take instruction from the governor and conveniently alternate as chairpersons of all major tender evaluation committee, contrary to Article 73(1)(b) of the Constitution, so as to act as a conduit to award tenders to governor preferred bidders. The governor said actions of interfering with the Constitution of the Tender Evaluation Committee is meant to compromise the integrity of the tendering process, and the same is driven by nepotism, favoritism, improper and ulterior motives, and for corrupt purposes in complete disregard of provision of Article 73(2)(b) and Article 73, sub-Article 2(c). By assumption of the powers of accounting officer under Section 46 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015, the governor has violated 1, Article 201, which requires that there be openness and accountability, including public participation in financial matters, and require public money shall be used in a prudent and responsible way. 2, Article 227, which requires that when a state organ or any other public entity contract for goods and services, it shall do so in accordance with a system that is fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, cost-effective, which principles were violated by the governor. The governor used her office to improperly confer a benefit on herself when she was irregularly paid for travel allowances by way of interest amounting to Kenya shillings 10,634,614 shillings, yet she did not travel. The payments are as follows. Mr. Speaker, to guide my colleagues, the payment schedule, that is the IFMIS extract, is labeled B01, which provide the extract, the manner into which the payments were made, that on 18th June 2018, the governor invoiced the county Kenya shillings 165,375 shillings. The amount was paid out on the same day. On 6th September 2019, the governor invoiced the county for Kenya shillings 300,000, which amount was paid out the same day. That on 29th October 2019, the governor invoiced the county for Kenya shillings 43,800, which amount was paid out on the same day. On 8th of January 2020, the governor invoiced the county for Kenya shillings 943,700 shillings, which amount was paid out on the same day. That on 23rd October 2018, the governor invoiced the county for 1,107,364 shillings, which amount was paid the same day. That on 15th January 2020, invoice 300,000. That on 25th February 2020, 1,125,440 shillings, invoice the same day. 23rd August 2019, an invoice of 1,910 shillings, which amount was paid the same day. 30th June 2019, 2,600,297 shillings, which amount was paid the same day. 14th June 2019, 455,000 invoiced and paid the same day. 18th February, 909,961 shillings invoiced and paid the same day. 18th June 2018, 1,601,767 shillings invoiced and paid the same day. The amount of Kenya shillings, 10,634 shillings, 634,614 shillings was paid to the governor personal account in the name of Anne Waiguru, account number 18029017480, held at Equity Bank. Mr. Speaker, there was established a Kirinyaga Investment Development Authority, KIDA, by the County Assembly of Kirinyaga, which enacted a board to chair the said authority. That, however, the County Public Service Board directed that the said board members should not be paid until salaries have been approved by Salaries and Remuneration Commission via a circular. However, the governor did not heed the said recommendation and has continued to have the board of KIDA paid outside the IFMIS and county government payroll, which actions amount to an abuse of office, and the same has contravened the provision of Public Finance Management Act, SRC Act. Further still, interest amounting to more than 14 million was paid out to Mr. Francis Morithi Kariuki on instructions by the governor, which interest is yet to be accounted. Mr. Speaker, the said board has even put in place a staff whom were appointed by such as the Chief Executive Officer. Mr. Speaker, it's also important to note that they are the marketing officer, production managers, manager food production and industrial processes, manufacturer, investment officer. And Mr. Speaker, these officers were given job group, Mr. Speaker, without a written authority from SRC. These officers are earning from the public coffers, Mr. Speaker, ignoring the provision of Constitution, the Act, and all other legal provision. Mr. Speaker, I would wish to table the necessary document in regard to the same, C01. Mr. Speaker, the governor has violated the right of health of the people of Kirinyaga. The governor, by her conduct, either omission or commission, has caused the health sector in Kirinyaga County to run into disarray and into a deplorable state that has compromised and undermined the realization of the right to highest attainable health standard of the people of Kirinyaga as enshrined under Article 43(1) of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, further in my submission, Mr. Speaker, I would want to look at this motion in three aspects, Mr. Speaker, and the three aspects include: number one, the question on procedure; number two, the question on the legality and the Constitution and the other act guiding us when it comes to such a motion; number three, Mr. Speaker, is the aspect of public participation. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the legal provision that guides us in this process, Mr. Speaker, number one, there is the Article number 1 of the Constitution, that the sovereign powers belong to the people, and in this case, Mr. Speaker, is the resident of Kirinyaga who voted for the county government of Kirinyaga, Mr. Speaker. And if those sovereign powers will be exercised in accordance with the Constitution and through the people themselves or their democratically elected leaders, Mr. Speaker. I want to confirm that we were democratically elected, Mr. Speaker, and we are exercising our mandate as an assembly, Mr. Speaker, to oversight the executive, Mr. Speaker. And at that point, Mr. Speaker, I would want to say that the County Assembly of Kirinyaga is not an extension of the executive, Mr. Speaker. We are independent and we are protected by the Constitution to exercise our mandate. Mr. Speaker, Article 10 of the Constitution provides for the national values and principles of governance, Mr. Speaker. The national values bind each and every state officers, Mr. Speaker. We as elected leaders, Mr. Speaker, and more so the governor, who is the executive officer, Mr. Speaker, is duty-bound, is constitutionally bound, Mr. Speaker, to uphold the national values and principles of governance. And in this case, Mr. Speaker, I would want to consider subsection 1C, Mr. Speaker, on the governor responsibility, Mr. Speaker, to implement the public policies which include the registrations that are passed in this assembly. We have witnessed in various scenarios, Mr. Speaker, whereby the governor and her officers, Mr. Speaker, have blatantly ignored registrations and policies that have been passed in this assembly, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the governor is supposed to observe good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability as per Article number 10. Mr. Speaker, Chapter 6 of the Constitution provides for the threshold of the ethos and ethics that must be observed by all state officers. Mr. Speaker, when the governor oversees imprudent expenditures on the public resources, when the governor herself accrues benefits that go to her personal account, Mr. Speaker, and when we do our own perusal, our own investigation, we realize that the governor does not travel. Mr. Speaker, figures amounting to 10 million, whereas, Mr. Speaker, our roads are in deplorable state. Go to the hospitals, there are no drugs, Mr. Speaker. There are structures that were started in the previous regime, Mr. Speaker, and they are not being implemented. And the governor, Mr. Speaker, can afford to accrue herself a personal benefit of 10 million that, Mr. Speaker, would have taken care of bursary for our boys and girls who are in school, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we wish to continue and say that within all the requirements of legal provision, Mr. Speaker, we are on course, we are online as an assembly as we execute our mandate.
Naam, bila shaka mtazamaji, ni katika bunge la kaunti ya Kirinyaga hapa ambapo